Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is KarQ, and let's take a look at some of the mistakes you guys make for every hero and a couple of ways to help fix them. A bad habit newer D.Va players make is flashing their defense matrix mid-fight just cause they can. While it may appear you're helping, and occasionally you are, the randomness in flashing matrix is usually wasted. You should always have a reason to use your defense matrix and actively look for things to eat, or hold it over a teammate to protect them. The mistake Orisa players make on attacking sides of maps is passive shield placement. It's common for Orisas to shield where they are, not where they should be. For example, attacking a choke point here, the mistake is constantly reshielding this choke instead of aggressively shielding forward, where the team should be pushing. Sometimes it's okay if you have a plan, like letting a teammate cross the choke safely, but your team will find it difficult to do anything if the Orisa just constantly reshields the same spot, since her position determines the location of the fight. The most common mistake on Rein is poor pathing. What happens here is that you take the longest and most inefficient route to a fight, soaking up too much damage with your shield or health in the process. You end up slowing down your engagement, waiting for your shield to recover, or waiting for healing while the rest of your team just dies around you. Do your best to take the shortest path to a fight that hopefully has some natural cover, unless you're pulling off this very specific strategy that does require the long path. For Roadhog, a common mistake is people always using melee after a hook shot combo. It's not a mistake when trying to confirm a kill on a squishy target, but when you hook tanks, it's much more efficient to shoot twice because of their larger HP pools. Melee is great to confirm kills if they didn't die after the initial shot, but it actually locks you in the animation and you can't shoot again until it's over. So skipping that and pumping your shots is much more DPS. For Sigma, the mistake here is simply forgetting to retract the shield. In chaotic teamfights, you'd be surprised at how common it is to just move around and forget about it. Just remember to bring it back. The biggest mistake for Winston is leaping in with no plan. The quickest way to feed and tilt your teammates is bad leap engagement, such as going in solo and the entire enemy team turning on you. Ask yourself this: what are you leaping in for? To take space, to farm primal, give your Zarya energy and then drop back down? Or are you leaping to dive a target? You need to adapt and understand the difference between a soft or hard dive. A soft dive is a type of dive engagement without fully committing onto the enemies, which is often used to sort of take position or farm for ult charge with the option to retreat when necessary. That's the key, being able to back off. A hard dive is a type of engagement that you fully commit to. You typically won't be able to disengage or back off very easily since you're going to be deep in the enemy lines, so you better make sure you get value or get some help from some teammates. I think the biggest mistake for ball players is AFKing and waiting for healing from your supports instead of going for health packs mid-fight. This is fine during downtime when the fight is over, but in general, you should use your mobility to look for health packs. Do not give up space unless it's an absolute emergency. The fewer resources you demand on ball, the better off your team will be. Your healers can focus on others while you utilize your massive health pool and adaptive shields to survive. Inexperienced Zarya players often bubble for energy mid-fight instead of actively looking to deny enemy abilities or to enable a teammate. Denying a shatter, for example, with your bubble is much better usage than just blowing it early. You'll get the energy anyways, so focus on timing more than anything. A common mistake for new Ashe players is poor coach gun usage. Too many players get thirsty for kills, see a low HP target in the distance, and gamble on a vertical coach gun for a single shot, and more often than not, just miss. It's better to just save your coach gun for separation when getting dove or flanked, as well as repositioning. The biggest mistake for Bastion is playing him without the team support. He requires a team built around him since he's literally the only hero that remains stationary to do most of his damage. But you can't stay put for too long. Even with your team shielding and healing you, some players won't switch off even when it's clearly not working.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
The easiest way to feed as Doomfist is using all 3 cooldowns blindly without knowing you can guarantee a kill or having an escape plan. It's probably the most common mistake for Dooms at all levels, misreading positioning or not accounting for the enemy team's peeling. The biggest mistake I see Echo players make is that they forget focusing beam can execute shields as well. Obviously saving it for a kill is optimal, but there are certain situations where a cracked Reinhardt or Sig shield needs to get broken immediately so that your team can combo. Echo's beam does 200 damage per second below half health, and that counts for shields as well, so if you see it, don't be afraid to go for it. The common mistake for Genji is similar to Doomfist, committing on an engagement by dashing in without deflect available or dashing in with almost no chance of getting in a limb for a dash reset to get out. You just get caught out in no man's land with a poor engagement and no support or follow-up from your team. A big mistake for Hanzo players is being impatient. It's almost always better to take a slower, more methodical charge shot while waiting for enemies to walk into your crosshairs compared to shooting 2 quick panic shots and just end up missing. Just wait, bro. A frequent mistake Junkrat players make is just spamming the same spot. When an enemy gets hit by a grenade, they're gonna get booped, and if they're not bots, they'll probably move. As a Junkrat, you need to add some variation or slight adjustments to your aim, which can help randomize the trajectory a lot more and catch enemies off guard. A common McCree mistake is that after using combat roll, many players instinctively adjust their aim on the Y-axis, the up and down. There's a tendency to readjust your aim upwards during the combat roll because you dip down. However, you don't want to move your crosshairs much because after you roll down, you roll back up, obviously. You'll waste time readjusting your aim and thus lowering your accuracy. The mistakes for Mei revolve mostly around her cryo freeze, the first being using it too early after taking just a little bit of damage, and since it lasts for 4 seconds and heals you, players tend to want to stay in it for the max amount of time. However, sometimes the best option is to exit cryo early, because getting separation from the enemy or returning to your team is more valuable than waiting for that extra bit of HP. The biggest mistake for Pharah players is their positioning and playing in open spaces during the poke phase. Once a committed engagement begins, then you can go over their heads, maybe concuss into an off angle, and shoot safely, where it's difficult for them to respond to you. Reaper is the strongest when the enemy doesn't know where he is, and it's too common for Reaper players to give away their position on a flank by shooting before closing the gap between them and their target. This gives the enemy team time to react and shut you down before you even do anything. What's worse is that shooting early does way less damage since Reaper uses shotgun, so stop throwing away the flanking advantage, let yourself get closer, then shoot for the instant 1 or 2 shot. The mistake for soldier players is playing with the team. There's a reason his nickname is the legs, so if you lock the legs, use them. Sprint to off angles and flanks and go for crossfires. You can play independently with your biotic field and sprint out of danger if the enemy shifts their focus to you. A mistake a lot of Sombra players still make is throwing their translocator on a health pack. As the game evolves, people are checking for these now, so you're better off leaving it in spots near the health pack, but not necessarily on it. A lot of Symmetra players forget about the versatility of her teleporter. They usually pick one of 3 styles. They either set it in their spawn to help teammates regroup during a fight, reposition the whole team, or set up TP combos like a turret bomb or D.Va bomb. Instead, try to mix it up. Being too predictable with your teleporter will only make the enemy team's job easier. The mistake Torbjorn players make is instinctively using their secondary fire, the shotgun, at close range. But if the enemy has armor, you actually do more damage over time using your primary fire. Armor provides significant reduction against small instances of damage, turning each Torb pellet from 12.5 damage to 7.5 damage. That's a 40% damage reduction. Since Torb's primary fire is a single instance of damage and does 70 per shot, being reduced to 65 with armor, it's a little bit lower, but it consumes much less ammo and has a faster fire rate when compared to the secondary fire. A typical tracer mistake to fall into is blinking just because they can and have one available. Blink with purpose. For example, some players tend to blink every empty clip or reload cycle, which isn't always necessary. But blinking to move between cover or to dodge enemy abilities will get you more value. A common Widow mistake is shooting shields. While there may be some scenarios where a shield is cracking and you're uncontested, go ahead and help your team put some damage into it to break it. But for the most part, you're better off holding your crosshairs on enemies behind it and waiting for it to drop. Or just take an off angle altogether. A big Ana mistake is specifically saving your nano boost for one combo. Let's say you and your duo are playing Genji Ana and planning to nano blade. While it's certainly a great combo, a lot of players make the mistake of tunnel visioning into it and miss out on a lot of other nano opportunities that could have won them the fight much earlier. A huge Baptiste mistake is playing him like a heal bot and not using his primary fire enough. One of his biggest strengths is his DPS output with the 3-round burst gun, which has a similar time to kill to a Hemlock. And I know it's a different game, but the point is this weapon is an absolute beast. The most effective playstyle in ranked is a DPS heavy approach. Look at any BAP player in the top 500 leaderboard and check out their damage per 10 minutes compared to their healing per 10. Some of these guys have a higher DPS output than healing, and well, they're top of the ladder for a reason. A normal combo for Brig to maximize Inspire uptime is Shield Bash to Swing, then to Boop. However, if you're looking for an environmental kill specifically, skip the Swing. The time it takes you to swing runs out the short stun duration of the Shield Bash, giving them time to get away from your Boop. Just bash and a Boop to get them off the map.
See ya.
The most common thing new Lucio players will forget to do is utilize his wall riding ability. It sounds really obvious, because it is, but you really should be either on a wall or in the air 90% of the time, spamming your primary fire and getting off angles on enemy players. Lucio has the most versatile movement in the game, so use it. Most Mercy players will hard pocket a strong complementary hero like Ashe or Pharah, and will often forget about the rest of their team. As important as your job is to enable a DPS, you need to help your other support and other DPS so they can keep the pressure off of the whole team. If one link in the chain breaks, everything will fall apart. If you're running Ana Mercy and you as the Mercy make the mistake of not healing your Ana, then your Ana needs help and can't heal the frontline tanks, then the tanks die, then your other DPS is going to complain because there's no space being taken, and everything goes into a big mess. The mistake for Moira players is doing the side sweeping thing to heal a group of teammates instead of focusing the spray in a concentrated direction. Her healing stream is a projectile, as we have discovered in the ability visualizer video, thanks to Lotto. You're mostly just spreading a mist instead of a stream, so focus your healing in one area rather than spreading it out too thin. A big Zen mistake is using Transcendence immediately upon seeing an ability. For example, hitting your Transcendence button as soon as you get caught in a grab. Maybe their Hanzo Dragon is late, or maybe they don't have any sort of follow-up damage. You have to assess the situation and make sure you're getting the most value out of your ultimate by using it at the right time. And thanks for watching, guys. I stream regularly weekdays at twitch.tv/KarQ. Follow my Tick to the Talk at KarQ Games along with my Twitter and Instagram.